Hello everyone and welcome back guys to round 17 of Season 3 of the F1 2018 Williams Road to Glory Career Mode. Yes, I know it's been a little while since the last episode of this. We've had the Charles Leclerc Career Mode going on over the weekend. But yeah, excited to sort of bring this series back. Probably the plan over December is to sort of switch it up between each of these series, you know, every other day. In that sense, obviously, then we get a bit, you know, of a nice variety. Weekends will probably be mainly Charles Leclerc Career Mode dominated. But obviously, we're right at the end of this season anyway. We might, you know, we'll probably have a little bit of a break. Obviously, do a bit more of the Charles Leclerc Road to Glory Career Mode. And then, obviously, we'll move back ready for Season 4. Obviously, you guys, the vote is still open for where you'd like to see me go for Season 4. I think we're up to nearly 650 people have voted, which is pretty phenomenal. I cannot thank you guys enough for the mental amount of support it's had overall. And especially, you know, just the upswing on the channel in recent weeks as well. Obviously, if you are new around here and you do enjoy the videos, make sure you do subscribe. We're trying to hit 10k by the end of the year, and it'd be greatly appreciated if you could help me get one step closer. I think at the moment of recording this, we're like 115 away, so we are hopefully now getting a bit closer and closer. But yeah, obviously, hopefully, as I said, you guys can help me get one step closer to that. But yeah, ready for the Japanese Grand Prix then. It's a bit of an interesting track for me. It's one that, since they remodeled it, I think back on F1 2017, it's one that I have quite enjoyed, but it hasn't always gone so well for me, unfortunately, and that's something that I'm a little bit worried about going into this weekend. The AI can be a little bit ridiculous as well around here, but hopefully the less said about that, the better then. But moving on then into qualifying, we move straight into Q2. You know, Q1 was a fairly simple affair, but yeah, actually changeable conditions throughout the whole of qualifying. It was just meant to get wetter and wetter as the three sessions went on. Out of the final corner and down towards the line, we're going to go pole position by 1.1 seconds over my teammate Lance Stroll. I must admit that lap did feel quite good overall, and we did obviously make it through therefore into Q3. I'm going to go take you guys on board with my Q3 lap, because overall, you know, I personally felt it was quite good on the whole. So let's ride on board then around a very wet Suzuka here. Out of the final corner, struggling to get the power down, but overall we do get quite good drive in the very end there as we come down in towards turn 1 here. Brake just at the 50-meter board there. You obviously got to really glide the car in these wet conditions. You can't obviously take it fully flat out, but you have still got to try and make sure you scrub off as little as momentum as possible. Now up through the S's, you really don't want to try and clip the curbs through here. They can be very aggressive. Up the ride height of this car, so we, you know, hopefully have a little bit more flexibility over the curbs, as well as down the back straight. It can get very bumpy as well there, and navigate those quite okay on the high note. Overall fairly decent, I'd like to think, from myself there. Brake just down one gear to come through the first Degner there, almost running wide there, but do get quite a nice land. They take a lot of curb through the second one on the exit under the bridge. And now we come up into Komui, Kobayashi's favourite place in the whole wide world, the hairpin here. Just run a little bit deep there, don't quite get the car hooked up on the apex, but ultimately it doesn't actually cost you that much, where you can get on the power just that little bit earlier as well. You sort of find on the inside there, you can sort of ground the rear of the car out and sort of scrub off a lot of speed on the exit. Brake about 75 meters before you come in through Spoon, run a little bit wide through there, but try to get the car nicely up towards the apex on the exit, and then it's just a case of nicely on the power on the way out. And now down in towards 130R, one of the final corners on this lap. You can see we're currently provisional pole by 0.7 of a second. They're near enough take 130R flat. That just goes to show how much confidence I have in this Williams. Now get the car slowed down nicely in through the Casio triangle there. Take a nice bit of curb on the way through. Very careful on the power to avoid that big bump out of the final corner. Down towards the line. It's going to be pole position by 0.8 of a second there. I will certainly take that lap, and we'll head back to the garage, and hopefully, you know, we'll just wait and see what the rest of the session does throw up, because as I said, the track was just meant to get wetter and wetter throughout the rest of this session. So yeah, excited to see as we go back into the pit lane, you know, maybe a couple of other drivers might be able to get a good couple of laps in there, but you can see Seb 0.7 of a second back, my teammate Lance 0.8 of a second back, and we were purple in not quite all three sectors. We lost out. I think that's a bit of an OP final sector by Carlos Sainz, in all honesty. So yeah, that's, I think, a little bit of a bug. But yeah, just fast forwarding now through the rest of this session then, obviously just waiting for the time to tick down. You know, I was really happy with that lap overall. You know, it was one of those ones where I honestly felt, you know, I sort of deserved pole, whether, you know, whether we've got the quickest car or not on the grid as well. So yeah, I was certainly take that one. Now speeding up to 30 times speed right towards the end of the session there. And suddenly 6 cars go quicker than me. Lance Stroll on the pole, fair enough to him, but as the intermediate suddenly for some reason got quicker right at the very end. So yeah, I certainly felt, I felt robbed, I'm going to be completely honest with you. That one hurt, I'm not going to lie. Yeah, hopefully we can sort of move past that. Move into the Japanese Grand Prix. P7 isn't quite where I wanted to be, ready for the start of this Grand Prix, but obviously hopefully we can still have a successful weekend after that. So let's move on then into the Japanese Grand Prix.
We're live today from the Mie Prefecture of Japan as we look forward to the Japanese Grand Prix. The 2015 race here was one of only 5 Grand Prix in history to feature no retirements at all. Although with the highly competitive field we have today, I don't expect we'll be repeating that stat anytime soon. 18 corners make up a lap of the incredible figure-of-8 Suzuka circuit, with 10 to the right and 8 to the left, for a distance of 3.6 miles. Average lap speeds around here are fairly quick. If it stays dry, then expect somewhere in the region of 136 miles per hour. Anthony Davidson joins me again for the race today. Let's talk about the Professor. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
It's been a really solid year so far. There have been some incredible standout performances, but what's really impressed me has been the consistency. With this kind of form, I'm expecting another great race today.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Sebastian Vettel has a clear track ahead of him today. He starts in pole position, and Kimi Räikkönen completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Alonso, Bottas, Stoffel van Dorn, the Professor, Hamilton, Verstappen, Sainz, and Esteban Ocon. Stroll, they've taken a grid penalty. Perez, Pierre Gasly, and Hülkenberg, Grosjean, Ricciardo, Marcus Ericsson, and Brendan Hartley. Magnussen and Charles Leclerc rounds off the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
Our grid position is not as high as we had hoped, but push hard in the race and hopefully with a bit of luck we can finish with a positive result.
Yeah, hopefully, you know, we can still end this Grand Prix with a good race of result. But yeah, it's going to be a fairly textbook one-stop race. The wet conditions that we experienced yesterday were not meant to be coming back today, so we're actually going to try and go for a super soft to medium race here. A little bit of a gamble. The supers can go off quite quickly around here, but overall, you know, I just wanted to be able to slice my way through the pack off the start, so we'll wait and see as to how we fare. But here we are then on the grid, ready for the Japanese Grand Prix. It is 5 lights here in Suzuka, and it is lights out, and away we go. They're off to a fairly poor start, as you can expect. Hamilton, lightning reactions off the start there, and we're going to get swamped as we come in towards turn 1. They just have to bail out there as Verstappen comes across me. We get right back round the outside of the Dutchman there in the Red Bull car, and now we move ourselves back up into P8 there. So not a particularly good start to this Grand Prix. We've lost places, and that was not what we needed here. But straight away, we're already back on the attack around the outside of Carlos Sainz and Stoffel van Dorn as we come through Sector 2 there, and now we're back up into P6 there. So, well, a little bit of a ballsy move around the outside through the S's there on lap 1, but I will certainly take that, and now we're trying to close back up to the rear of Lewis Hamilton, who is on a set of these soft compound tyres here, not on the supers, so hopefully we can try and capitalise on that. Think about going for a move up the inside into the hairpin there, but think actually to look around the outside there. He's a bit slow on the exit of the corner either way, and unfortunately not able to capitalise on that just yet here as we now come down in towards the next couple of corners, in towards Spoon here. The Mercedes in front of me sparking away as we come in towards these next 2 turns. Now it's just a case of trying to get good power on the exit, but I must say the AI, they do tend to be a little bit OP at Spoon, unfortunately, which is a bit unfortunate for myself. But yeah, hopefully that shouldn't make too much difference in the grand scheme of things here. Through 130R towards the end of lap 1. Heavy fuel on the car. We're going to make sure that we are certainly careful of that. And now as we come through the final corner here, we're now all over the back of Lewis Hamilton once more there. This car, he almost doesn't have to worry about the bump. That's just how stable it is through the final couple of corners there. Overtake mode ERS, but we're just not really closing up to Lewis Hamilton here as we come through turn 1. We get a little bit closer to the Mercedes man, almost pushing him through the corner. So we definitely have a bit more confidence through the turns over the AI, but lacking a little bit down the straights here. Now we're all over the rear of Lewis as we come through the S's, and we're going to try and do what we did last lap, right around the outside we go of Lewis Hamilton there, and that's us up into P5 of the Grand Prix there on the exit of the S section there. So clearly a good opportunity to make an overtakes for myself here. We're just going to have to see how often we can try and capitalise on that one here as we now try to close up the gap to Valtteri Bottas in the other Mercedes car in front of us there. He hasn't had exactly the season that I'm sure he would have wanted there. He's all the way down in P13. I'm sure 12 points here in Japan would certainly help his championship tally there. By the end, though, of lap 2, you can see we were starting to lose a little bit of time to the Mercedes man. He was sort of getting carried along by Van Dorn's DRS there. But you can see going in towards turn 1, they're actually going to have a bit of contact there, and Van Dorn is going to get swung out on the outside of the circuit there. He makes a very, very dangerous rejoin, and this was one of the issues that I said about the AI can be a bit broken around Japan. I'm sure a lot of you guys will have seen Arab's career mode a couple of days back around Suzuka as well. I think he had 9 retirements, and it was mainly just down to the AI doing very, very silly things. It's a little bit unfortunate. Hopefully it can get patched for F1 2019. You know, some of the rejoins, some of the accidents they have are just very, very frustrating. But we move all the way on to a lap 6 here. Unfortunately, we're really, really starting to struggle with the tyres. You can see the temperatures way, way above where they're meant to be. They're 105, 106, and 107 is not ideal for the Superstars around here. So we were really thinking about trying to pit nice and early in this Grand Prix, and that's going to certainly help my case. A virtual safety car. We're going to try and gamble this one. Dive it into the pit lane on the end of the lap. I think it's Sergio Perez who's retired from the Grand Prix there, so a bit unfortunate for the Force India man there. Obviously was my main championship rival in the early stages of the year. Seems so long ago that was the case. Unfortunately though, get caught speeding in the pit lane. That was not what we needed there. That's going to be a 5-second stop-go penalty, and that was not what I wanted. And now the VSC is ending as well here, so we haven't quite been able to utilise this as much as I would have liked. The DRS has now been re-enabled here, so we're not going to be able to gain anywhere near as much time as I had originally anticipated there. Maybe we might even lose out on a little bit of time as well here. You can just see coming down towards turn 1, all of these AI are going to be able to get past me here. We're going to be all the way down to P18 once more, so we're going to have to try and fight my way through the pack once again. I'd actually made a bit of a setup change in the pit stops as well, though. I dropped the car down to 3 on the front downforce here, so hopefully that means we got a little bit more down the straights, but I could already tell it was a gamble that we shouldn't have gone for there. Just no turning through the S section now, considered obviously relative to the car that we had prior, which was really, really frustrating here. And now we've got to try and get through the AI as Magnussen. Everyone, just Constantine is up there. That is half of my front wing gone, and this is just going from bad to worse here. This is not what we needed. We're accidentally going to get down the inside of K-Mag and Brendan Hartley there through Kamui Kobayashi's favourite place in the whole wide world there. But yeah, that was not what we needed at this stage of the race there. And well, this is just going from bad to worse, this Japanese Grand Prix. Tyre temp issues, front wing issues, lack of performance issues. This is like the Williams of Season 1, in all honesty. It's a bit of a weird throwback race on the whole. They get out over the gravel on the exit spoon there, and that's going to give Kevin Magnussen the opportunity to get back past me here. We move to the outside in towards 130R. Hartley's going to make it 3 wide there as we go through 130R. Fortunately, both of them bail out nice and early there, so we do hold it right around the outside there. But yeah, 3 wide through 130R. Not exactly what I was expecting from this Grand Prix, but 1 lap later we were now closing up to the rear of a Roman Grosjean here as we come through spoon. Once again running a little bit wide on the exit there. Dip the wheel out over the gravel, and we make contact with Stoffel Van Dorn. That's in the wall. That's more front wing gone. This is just going from bad to worse. This is not the race that we had anticipated around the Japanese Grand Prix. No turning through 130R, as you'd come to expect. Then we lose the rear end once again as we rejoin the track. Somehow don't rip off the front wheel there from that as well. But yeah, this is just turning into a meltdown here at Suzuka. This was not what I needed for the championship. You know, I think we've got, what, about a 60-point lead with 5 rounds to go. That gap is certainly going to come down after this Grand Prix at this stage of the day, because, well, 8 laps in and we're nearly a lap down already. As you can see, the 2 Ferraris are already coming down in towards spoon here. So yeah, this is not quite the race I had originally anticipated. Now we've got to serve our 5-second stop go as well, so it's just getting worse and worse and worse, sadly, as we now make our front wing change once again. It's a 10.5-second pit stop. I'm not too sure why the stop-go penalties basically triple your pit stop time, but I think the less said about that, the better. Unfortunately, oh, it was because of the front wing. Sorry, I'm just being very, very slow this morning. It matches my driving style, I think, through this race as well. But we rejoin the pit lane, barely the front straightaway ahead of the Ferrari cars. Now we've got to try and close back up to Pierre Gasly here. This race could end up being a bit of damage limitation here, and hopefully we can try and do so here over these next couple of laps. We'd already brought the gap down by about a second in the first lap here, so obviously on that fresh compounded tyres, you know, we certainly had, we still had some pace in this Williams car, but unfortunately, you know, we were much further down the order than this pace would have probably been useful in, to be honest there, as we come through the first, down in towards the first corner down. We're not even closing it to Gasly anymore. We actually lost out time through the final sector here as we now come through in towards the S's on lap 10 of this Grand Prix, and it's going to be a very, very long final 17 laps here as we clip the curb. And it's not going to be a very long 17 laps. That is us out of the Japanese. I don't even know what to say. That was one of the weirdest incidents I think I've ever had on this game. I think it was just the curb on the inside there. But let's have a look then on the replay cameras here as we come through turn 2 here. See, we just clipped the curb. Yeah, that just the rear end snaps on us. We tried to save it, and obviously through there is just nowhere to go. As you can see, slowing it down, we clip the curb. Actually quite nicely, one of the better lines we've taken through there. But you can just see about there, the rear end grounds out. I tried to correct it once. You can see the back end then steps out the other way. Tried to correct it again. And, well, once we try that, we've got no turn in. Far too much speed. And, yeah, just absolutely nowhere to go. So, well, that was absolute heartbreak here at Japan. Not good for my championship challenge as well here. But, yeah, hopefully in the next couple of rounds we can have a bit more damage limitation overall there. But, yeah, heartbreaking Grand Prix for myself. Not the race we would have wanted at the end of the day there, but yeah, hopefully we can just sort of push that behind us. Japan can ultimately be quite a championship testing track overall. You know, towards the end of the season, the pressure can really get to people, and unfortunately, I have cracked in this situation. Ferrari, though, very, very happy with the race victory there. Fortunately for me, it was actually Kimi Räikkönen that was actually able to come through for the race victory there. So a little bit of peace in mind in the fact that obviously it was Räikkönen and not my, not my main rival Sebastian Vettel there. Was that Fernando Alonso on the podium as well? What a race that would have been for him all the way up in P3. McLaren, you know, well, Fernando last time out, the Russian Grand Prix was fighting at the top end of points in the early stages of the race as well. So clearly he's got a good bit of pace in that McLaren car though. I know not many of you guys have voted for me to go to McLaren for Season 4. You know, maybe it would have actually sized up to be quite a good little move for ourselves there. But yeah, Kimi Räikkönen takes home the race victory ahead of Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso there. So good to see actually Sebastian Vettel not even inside the top 4, inside the top 3 even I should say. At the end of the day means he's only at best been able to close up by 12 points to myself. So the gap should still be around 50 points as we move into the next couple of Grand Prix. But yeah, let's have a look then at the final race results. Lewis Hamilton in 4th, 7 P5, so he's only taken 10 points at me there, which is very, very ideal. Hülkenberg in 6th, Bottas down in 7th there, with Verstappen, Daniel Ricciardo and Charles Leclerc round out the top 10. Ericsson, Leclerc's teammate, just misses out in P11 there, with Ocon, Sainz and Romain Grosjean rounding out the top 14, with myself and Sergio Perez the only 2 drivers not to make it through to the end of that race there. So yeah, very, very unfortunate race for ourselves. Look at that, Van Doorn all the way down in 15th when his teammate got a podium in that Grand Prix. Yeah, I don't think it's a particularly good campaign for him. But yeah, we still somehow have a 2 race wins margin over Sebastian Vettel. So theoretically, we could win the World Championship at USA. But it would require Seb to not score a single point and my teammate Lance Stroll to only score 5 points or less. So it's a little bit optimistic, but hopefully, you know, as we move into COTA next time, we can have a bit of a better showing. Lewis Hamilton, Kimi Räikkönen and Perez now all separated by just 2 points. That's certainly going to be a battle to watch between now and the end of the season. With Danny Rick in a bit of no man's land. Max Verstappen actually very, very close to Nico Hülkenberg there, with Alonso jumping past Leclerc and Ocon once more there. But there we are then, guys. That has been the end of the Japanese Grand Prix. Heartbreak for myself, but hopefully we can come back stronger next time out of the US Grand Prix. Make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you guys then.